What's going on, guys? We are back to talk about the FIFA eWorld Cup. It is back in style with some slight modifications. So let's talk about what those modifications are and then like some of my thoughts about the entire event in general. So let's go right over. So FIFA World Cup back in December in Riyadh. Yet again, they have 3 games coming out. Mostly, I mean, it's eFootball or whatever it's called. We don't care about that as of right now. We care about Rocket League for this video. So we'll talk about Rocket League, right? Rocket League, similar system to last year. Last year, though, it was every country was invited purely just you have your top 16 countries or your 16 countries. I shouldn't say top because it definitely wasn't the top countries. They are just invited and they go to the tournament, right? But in order to participate, or like each country could do their own little tournament if they wanted to determine who actually goes to represent that nation, or people could, just get an invite directly, right? Which happened with a lot of the countries actually. So that doesn't change too much in terms of how you represent your nation. It's basically the member association for that nation for a football or soccer can decide how they want to do that, right? Personally, I would love, and I think this is unrealistic, but I would love if like it was mandatory that you had to at least have like a 4-team bracket where people can actually earn the spot. I'm not a huge fan of just like, well, we decided on these 3 players when like, I get it. It's probably your best 3, but I just love the idea of actually having to earn it. It's like in the Olympics, right? You don't just get invited by your nation. You have to compete in a tournament in order to get there, right? Like, I guess outside of like maybe like a hockey team or something, right? Then that they just get invited. But in a lot of other things like track or whatever, you have to qualify, right? You have to compete against your other national peers to see who makes it there. I would love if that was more of the style of system where you would have like at least minimum of 4 teams into a bracket to determine who actually goes. But I think that's probably unrealistic, but that's a thing that I would love. But anyway, the main difference between the FIFA eWorld Cup of last year to this year is now there's going to be regional qualifiers, which sounds really, really cool. So if we come down here, so national roster choosing, you can do whatever you want, right? You can do a domestic trial, boot camp, or direct nomination, which we just talked about. But there's now regional qualifiers. So nations compete within their own region to determine the spots. We haven't heard too much more information about this because you would assume, right? It's like, all right, if you're from North America, is that just like a 3-team round robin or something with like Mexico, NA, and Canada for 2 spots? Is that how that's going to work? Because it's going to be a little bit weird, right, for that. You would assume they would want to give at least 2 spots to North America, assuming the U.S. and Canada make it, right? So we're not really sure how this is all going to work out. I like the idea of this. This really does work in basically every other continent, right? Like you go to SAM, there's a lot of countries there, so they can all compete. You go to Europe, obviously, there's tons of countries there. So they can compete. You could even throw in the Middle East teams possibly there, or however you want to do that. So like everywhere else outside of Australia, which you'd probably just take Australia or have them play New Zealand. Maybe they play the APAC regions as well, but some ping issues there. So all those other regions, I think, at least have a workaround. I feel like in North America, it's really tough. You probably just bring U.S. and Canada, or you do some weird 3-team round robin. Unless I'm like kind of forgetting if you would have anyone else from up there. I'm not really sure. Just make U.S. East Coast and West Coast, and let's really battle it out. But anyway, so we'll see how that all pans out. I think that's really cool for Europe. Really cool for pretty much every other region, especially Europe, though, because like Europe will be a lot of fun to see all the countries battling it out. A little Euro Cup, if you ask me. But that is really cool. Love to see that. And then hopefully, again, the nations still have to want to participate, I think. So I think that also led to some issues last year of getting certain teams there or not. So hopefully every nation participates, and then they do this regional qualifier, which would be awesome. Another thing is the format is the same going into this year. I still have my qualms with the format. I don't necessarily mind the best of 2. I really liked what they did where everyone's on the stage and you just play each other like round robin style. Very, very cool. Love all that. Best of 2, love it. That is fine. It works. You have everyone on stage already. That makes sense, right? Like if you didn't have everyone on stage and you have to have like people getting people like in and out, then it would be much more difficult, right? Love that stuff. Not a huge fan of this whole 3 points for a win thing. Even the Ascension Protocol, they just did the 3 points for a win and 1 point for a tie. I've talked about it before, but like in football, they do that specifically so teams try and win. You're always trying to win in Rocket League, so that doesn't really matter. And then it just comes down to like 2 players with 2 different win-losses are now tied. That actually happened at the Ascension Protocol, and they had to play a tiebreaker, right? Where one player was technically better in the round robin, but because of the point system, they weren't, and so on and so forth. So I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't think it really matters all that much. But last year worked out. We got the last round. Mattered a lot for these teams, which is great. That is what you want. But also a bracket does that every single time. So I'm not really sure. All right, I'm not sold. I'm not sold just yet. But I am excited to see the giant group stages are fun. Like I do like that idea. So that is what has happened with the FIFA eWorld Cup across the board. Again, it's in Riyadh. Slight changes, like format's basically the same, where you do best of 2s, 3 points if you go 2-0, 1 point for a 1-1, and 0 points for an 0-2. You play each other twice, I think it was. I can't even actually remember off the top of my head. Might have played each other once. I can't remember. Then you go to your top 4 out of each group, go into just a bracket, best of 7, 1 life, which is awesome. It's always hype for that. So we'll see how that all plays out. But the main difference is the regional qualifiers allows more countries to be involved. And then how do those actually pan out is going to be really interesting to see. I'm really excited to see what more news comes out of this. I also really hope more countries do a competition for their spot rather than just a direct nomination. That kind of fell apart on USA, where their direct nomination actually turned it down. So instead, I would love if it was like, I don't know, any USA players, you want to represent USA? Let's play in a tournament, right? And if you win this, you represent USA. Would be really cool. But that is what is happening with the FIFA eWorld Cup. Again, it's going to be a lot of fun. Love these off-season events. That is what you want to see. More stuff like this. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I miss the old DreamHack days. Well, now, like, at least we get our 2 events in Riyadh every year, right? We got the EWC and the FIFA eWorld Cup. So it does add a little bit of stuff. And I just hope they, like, try and promote the regional qualifiers a little bit more to have, like, a little more content to watch throughout the off-season. So that is what I'm hoping for. But it's going to be a fun time either way. USA is obviously going to win. It was a fluke that USA didn't win last time, obviously. So we'll just leave it at that. You probably don't even have to watch. So that'll do it for me. FIFA World Cup. Glad to have you back. Really excited to see what you guys have in store. And I'm really, really pumped for before the grand finals. If you know, you know. All right. That's it for me. Catch you guys later. Bye-bye.